Welcome back to Tarot by the Bay. I'm David. All right. George Santos is in the news. You know, after the J.D. Vance readings, why not hit George Santos too? The former congressman is expected to plead guilty to charges on campaign fraud on Monday. As you might recall, he was indicted on a bunch of federal charges for fraud, 23 to be exact. This included allegations of fraud related to COVID-19 unemployment benefits, missing campaign funds, and lying about his personal finances on House disclosure forms. Let's see, what do we have? They're talking about other people that, here we go. Sam Millet, who was his campaign fundraiser, pled guilty to federal wire fraud charges, and his campaign treasurer, Nancy Marks, also pled guilty for conspiracy to defraud the United States. Santos did get kicked out 311 to 114, with 105 Republicans voting with the Democrats in favor of his expulsion from Congress. He also He announced that he was going to run as an independent in New York's 1st District against Nick LaLota and whoever the Democrat would have been, but he dropped out a month later, basically saying he didn't want to split the Republican vote and be responsible for the Democrats taking over. This is the card that came up. Democrats taking over Congress. I think he's overestimating how many people would have supported him. Just saying. But you know what? If he grabbed 5% of the Republican votes out of that he could be right. Could have made a difference. 5% could be a big difference. That's take it a 55 to 45 victory and make it a 50-50 tie. And that's only 5%. 1 in 20. These elections are so close. Okay, so I want to read around the energy of George Santos and his 23 felony charges, and then we'll see if we can guess what his sentencing might be, okay? This will be a short reading because, for the most part, I think we all agree George Santos is irrelevant to us at this point. He was annoying and entertaining while he was in Congress, and annoying only because it's like the guy had so obviously committed crimes and there seemed to be no consequences for him at the time. But the consequences have now arrived. Our judicial system is slow, but does eventually get there. Looking at the situation right here, current situation, Knight of Swords. Oh, George isn't sleeping well at nights, because here it comes, here comes the guilty pleas. I'm hoping he's cut a deal. I mean, he was pleading not guilty. So if he's pleading guilty, he's going to try and cut a deal, maybe with the prosecutors recommending a lighter sentence. But there's a lot of anxiety with this. The guy he ripped off with the check fraud in Brazil, I believe it was, he just paid the money back and they dropped the case. Nobody's dropping the case here. Crossed with disappointment, heartbreak. Yeah, it's funny, this dude's got some serious personality disorders. I'm just saying. Being a gay man who dresses in drag, I'm not going to make any comments about one's life choices. That's fine. But when you're ripping people off and then you're living in this fantasy land where you're just lying all the time, pathological liar, the reality is going to set in. I'm sure he still thinks he's innocent. In his mind, he's convinced himself he's innocent. The plea deal that he's going to get is not going to be good for him. It's not as bad as it could be, but this might be like 3 years in prison. But it could have been 5. They were already cutting half of it off. Underneath it all is the Knight of Cups. I think, he was a false friend. He wasn't an authentic person. But I think he's being given he's being given a deal here with this. He's stressed out. He's not going to like it. He thinks he could have done better, but he really couldn't. This is a gift. It would be funny for me. It's like, you don't have to throw him in prison. I'm throwing him a psych hospital for that time and let him get the psych evaluations that he needs to look into why he's a pathological liar and rips people off. Wouldn't that be better than just throwing him in the clink where he could become the prison bicycle, if you know what I mean? In the past, you have the Nine of Cups. Here he is, running from the law, making up stories about his family surviving 9/11, getting elected to Congress, ripping people off. Life was golden for him. Everything was going great. So people are making noise outside. Can't have my window open. Yeah, but that's in the past. Oh no. Current situation, he's got the weight of the world on him. He did it to himself. His own actions created the burdensome position that he's in now that's causing him a metric crap ton of anxiety. Overarching energy is the magician. Again, something he created himself. He lives in a fantasy land. And he expects everybody else to live in that same fantasy land with him. Mind you of Trump, it's that he's got that same thing. He's like Trump if Trump wasn't as, devastatingly cruel. This is more like a comedy version of Trump, but still, it's the same core behaviors in here. He lives in an illusionary world, but it's a world he created, and it still ended up like this. Lesson to be learned. Don't rip off the wealthy people. Bernie Madoff made the same mistake. You can rip off average Joe citizens like you and me, and there'll be almost no consequences for it, but you can't rip off really wealthy people because all of a sudden the laws get enforced against you. Okay, so I'll leave that cynicism behind, and we'll look at maybe another message with this one. This is an opportunity for him. This really is an opportunity for him to get his life straightened up because he's finally facing consequences for his actions. Will it stick is really the question. Outcome is the Page of Pentacles. It could. It really depends on what he does with what his sentence is. I'd love it if a judge got creative and sentenced him to a facility where he could get mental health help for the time that he's there. He's going to have to give the money back that he's going to have to, restitution needs to occur, and there will be sentencing with it. But it is an opportunity for him if he chooses to take it. Okay? I'm not necessarily all for punishment. Rehabilitation is actually a great thing, giving people another chance. And I would say, look no further than Michael Cohen for something like that. Everybody, I can assure you, everybody watching this despised Michael Cohen for years. He said the most obnoxious, rude, cruel things he could. His behavior was abhorrent. And just a guy that, if he was crossing the street in front of you, you would be seriously tempted not to hit the brakes and hit the gas pedal instead and send him flying. Except that you have decency and morality, and and you can quell those instincts and those urges. At least most of us can. Okay, but Michael Cohen went to prison. Michael Cohen had time to rethink his life. He got to see how Trump treated him in that, and he came out the other side. And he's like, he took that personality, that bulldog-like personality, pit bull-like personality, turned it around and turned it against the person who did him wrong, who really was responsible. Now, ultimately, Michael Cohen will admit that he's responsible. He's the one who did everything. But the person who he was doing it for showed no appreciation for it and actually had put him in positions where he would be doing that. And it serves two purposes. One, it's to go after Trump, to bring him down, but the other is to spread the message and inform people, which is as powerful, if not more powerful. How many times have you seen him warn off other Trump supporters who are going down the same path he was going down, and say, dude, don't do it. Just cop a deal, work with the feds. Trump's not going to be there for you, and he's right every darn time. We like redemption stories. We like guys that do ugly things, but then realize that they were being pieces of garbage, and then try better and succeed in being better. Santos could be the same way. He could be entertaining as all get out. You don't want him as a politician because he's not serious, and he was doing it for the wrong reasons. If he was on RuPaul's drag show, he might be absolutely hilarious. You just got to find your niche. All right, let's look at making y'all sympathetic for George Santos. I'm sorry. But it's kind of one of those things that we vilify people so much that we need to take a step back and realize they're humans too. And Lord knows what this guy's been through, that he came out the way he did. It couldn't have been a normal childhood. Okay? Just saying. And I'm not talking about the homosexuality. I'm not talking about the cross-dressing. The lying. That's the part that would concern me. And that's why I would want him to get help. So maybe, if he could come out of it and just not be a pathological liar and rip people off, he could be an entertaining person. Speaking of entertaining, you get the Le Chat Noir reading. Well, hello. What are you doing? My little house panther. Uh-huh. Yeah. Ooh, can I bite your bracelet? Let's move my bracelet over here so we can bite it. What would it be without a cat? To interrupt the reading here. I'm sorry, not interrupt. Enhance. We were reading on George Santos. We were about to find out what his sentence was going to be. You don't care? Okay, well, then we'll read it on you. We got a new man. Come on, I'll move this back and we can read it on the cat. What's George Santos' sentence going to look like? Okay. I think, 3 cups down and here's the 4th. I think he's going to get 3 to 4 years. I don't think it's not going to be months. It's going to be years for what he did. He's not going to be real happy with it, but it's the best deal that he was going to get. 5 of Swords underneath it, the Tower, and the 6 of Swords with the Moon card underneath it. His cooperate with the Moon card, I think his cooperation was dubious. He wasn't exactly cooperating with investigators. It was the other people that the campaign managers and finance people that came in and gave him up. When they did that, it just brought his case down. So if he had come forward without them on that, he would have gotten a better deal. But by the time he came forward to cut a deal, it was too late. The other 2 people had cut a better deal, and he was left holding the bag. And he's going to be going away. My guess is the normal sentencing for something like this would probably be 5 to 6 years. And I think because he's pleading guilty, they'll cut a year off. So I think it could end up being about half, 3 years to 4, somewhere in between there. So it might be 40 months in prison, that type of thing, where it's more than 36 months, less than 48 months. I'm guessing 40 is going to be the sweet spot with that. And, now, while it's a federal crime, and I think people have said you have to serve like 80% or 85% or something like that before you're eligible for parole. So he will spend, according to this, if I'm interpreting it correctly, multiple years in prison. Now, that could be 3 to 4 months. That's possible, I suppose. I don't know what the sentencing guideline is. Excuse me. Sorry, I keep having a little congestion in my throat there. I'm trying to clear it. And I didn't see anything in the story estimating what the sentencing was. But when you're ripping people like that off and you're committing those forms, and it's 30 felonies, I don't think you're going to get 3 to 4 months. If it was one felony, yeah, that might be right. 34, they'll take, they'll sentence them on. There'll be a lot of concurrent sentencing, but I think ultimately it's going to be 3 to 4 years. We'll see. Thank you very much for joining me on this video. Nico says thank you very much for joining him on this video too. As a cat, he does appreciate his viewers, even if he never looks at the camera per se. Oops. Look at the camera. There you go. There you go. It's 11 in the morning. He just wants some love. Thank you very much for watching this video and supporting my channel. I appreciate it. Give it a thumbs up if you like cats. Leave a comment if you like cats. It's funny, this video will get now twice as many comments as any other video like this, simply because it involves cats. Thank you for all my childless and non-childless cat parents out there. I appreciate your patronage, and I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.